Nigeria, the giant of Africa, the cradle of black civilization, a land blessed with lush green vegetation and an abundance of resources. It is home to over 180 million hard-working and resilient people. Its economy is vibrant and robust, the largest on the continent. Like every other country, Nigeria has its fair share of challenges. Due to her huge population and rapidly expanding economy, the country's infrastructure is often overstretched and in most cases inadequate. A perfect example of this is the power sector. Despite the huge resources injected into the power sector by previous administrations, steady power supply became a sore point in the lives of Nigerians. This prompted most households and businesses to rely on self-generation. To find a lasting solution, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited (NDPHC) was set up in 2005 to fast-track infrastructural development in the power sector. Its core mandate was to manage the power projects under the National Integrated Power Project (NIPP) scheme, which is jointly owned by the three tiers of government. From inception, the Muhammadu Buhari administration declared power supply a priority. The president made his position known when he delivered his 2018 National Budget Proposal speech to the National Assembly in Abuja. The federal government hit the ground running with the constitution of a new board for the NDPHC, which is chaired by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. The federal government appointed Mr. Joseph Chiedu Ugbo as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the company. To assist the NDPHC in attaining its mandate are Alhaji Babayo Shehu, the Executive Director of Finance and Administration, and Engineer Ifeoluwa Oyodele, who was also appointed as the Executive Director, Engineering and Technical Services.
The Niger Delta Power Holding Company is a company owned by the three tiers of governments of Nigeria, the federal, the state, and the local governments.
The projects were funded from funds that were released from the Federation account in 2005 and then later 2008-2009 for of the Federation account, which means it's a company that belongs to the whole Federation. But those funds were meant for the capital projects, the construction of the power plants, the transmission lines and substations, and the distribution lines and substations, plus gas infrastructure.
We're coming from what I will call a state of emergency in the power sector, where we were not generating enough, where we were not transmitting enough, and where we were not distributing enough. And this was the reason why the National Integrated Power Project was conceived. And almost immediately after that, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company was created.
Niger Delta Power Holding Company, and that is the purpose vehicle really for implementing the National Integrated Power Project, delivering power plants, 10 major power plants, distribution capacity to support the power plant. It's been a story of mixed blessings. Some power plants are running, some are not. All sorts of problems, uncompleted projects, and so on. But by the by, I think what we have done is to strengthen the capacity of NDPHC to fulfill its mandate. Some change in leadership, also attention to what its developmental objectives are in terms of supervision at the ministerial level and also at presidential level, particularly by the Office of the Vice President.
Out of the 10 power plants in the NIPP portfolio, the NDPHC has successfully commissioned and connected 8 to the national grid. This was done along with associated gas transmission metering infrastructure projects to support commercial operations. Subject to the availability of gas, these power plants contribute over 22 million kilowatts of energy daily to the grid. Currently, the NDPHC has over 3,000 megawatts of generation capacity available for deployment. The power stations under the NDPHC include 1,074 megawatts Aloji Power Generation Station in Abia State, 563 megawatts Calabar Power Generation Station in Cross River State, 338 megawatts Egbema Power Generation Station in Imo State, 225 megawatts Barian Power Generation Station in Bayelsa State, 434 megawatts Geregu 2 Power Generation Station in Kogi State, 451 megawatts Benin Power Generation Station in Edo State, 451 megawatts Ogorode Power Generation Station in Delta State, 750 megawatts Olorunshogo 2 Power Generation Station in Ogun State, 250 megawatts Omoko Power Generation Station in River State, and 500 megawatts of Motosho Phase 2 Power Generation Station in Ondo State.
Our power plants are mainly located in Nigeria that are close to gas sources, although we have one in the far southwest in Olorunshogo, and we'll have another one in north central in Geregu near Ajokuta. Those ones might not be in the gas fields, but they are located close to gas pipelines. So we have a lot of projects in generation. We have 10 power plants, 8 of them already on the grid, 2 are under construction. We have several distribution projects, several injection substations, 33 kV lines, 11 kV lines, transformers, CSP transformers. The one we call CSP transformers are those mounted on the post. They are completely self-protected transformers. As in distribution, we have several projects again in transmission substations, transformation substations with transformers, transmission switching stations.
In terms of what they've done, I think that what they are doing at the moment is to focus on the distribution side of the business, while they are also trying to complete power stations that are not yet operational, that haven't been completed.
I must say, with all due sense of modesty, that this organization has fulfilled that purpose to the admiration of all, even though a lot of people don't understand what we're doing, and because we're not like most other organizations that have direct interface with the citizens.
In the area of power transmission, the NDPHC has invested in critical transmission and distribution infrastructure needed to evacuate the electricity generated into the national grid and distributed to end users. This has been achieved through the expansion of 36 Transmission Company of Nigeria 330 kV to 132 kV substations across the country.
Before NDPHC, we have only one number 150, then one number 90. With their intervention, they were able to install one additional 150 MVA transformer.
Also remarkable is the completion of 2,194 kilometers of 330 kV transmission lines and 809 kilometers of 132 kV transmission lines by the NDPHC. This represents an increase of 46% and 13% respectively over the pre-NIPP status of grid infrastructure. A total of 10 new 330-132 kV substations and 7 new 132-33 kV substations have been completed, with several other existing substations significantly expanded, thereby adding 5,590 megawatts and 3,313 megavolt amps capacity to the national grid.
We run an integrated structure, which means we cover from end to end. So from generation, including gas, up to distribution. And the whole purpose of it, our main core business here, that's where the major investment is in generation. But to ensure that Nigerians whose money has been spent on this generation enjoy this power. So we also invest massively in transmission and in distribution.
We are also building more transmission substations all over the country. Recently, we started the 330, 132, 33 kV transmission substation in Lafia, Nasarawa State. That is a state that since the inception of the creation of the state, have not enjoyed steady power supply. But when this substation is completed in a few months from now, Lafia will not only be able to enjoy steady power supply and its environment, they will always also be able to backfeed Abuja from that substation.
We just flagged off our construction of Lafia transmission substation, which we just flagged off again, and we're hoping that towards the end of this year we'll complete that project.
Recently, the NDPHC commissioned two 15 MVA 33/11 kV injection substations in Amikonle and Abule Taylor areas of Alimosho local government area of Lagos as part of efforts to boost power supply in the commercial hub of the nation. The Amikonle and Abule Taylor injection substation takes supply from the Ayobo transmission station through a dedicated 22.5 kilometer 33 kV feeder and 48 kilometers of 33 kV feeder respectively.
We thank God for making it possible for us to see light after the new road, because before we dey have low current every day, light that cannot be even lit candle, but now we thank God for full current by commissioning the new transformer.
We thank God for this gift from the federal government. Before, we don't normally have light. For almost 6-7 months, the light was paralyzed. But immediately they brought this thing, they did some work there, we were able to have at least light. Though the light have not been 100% perfect, but since they brought this thing to this environment, we have been enjoying light at least 10 to 12 hours.
It's a 15 MVA 3311 kV injection substation. It takes its source from the transmission station at Ayobo, and it's meant now to serve to ensure that we have good quality of supply to this environment, this Amikonle community. Yeah. I must give credit to my predecessor who started this project, Mr. James Olotu. He started this project and until he left in 2016, and then we took over, myself and my colleagues, the new administration. But as part of the change under President Buhari's government, we pursued and made sure that the project was completed on time, energized, and we've run it for a while to ensure that there are no issues.
In Abuja, Nigeria's capital, the NDPHC has successfully executed a number of power transmission projects, which include the already commissioned two 20-kilometer-long 330 kV double-circuit lines which provide alternative thermal power into the FCT from Gerugu through a new Lokoja substation. The new Gwagwalada substation has been connected into the existing TCN Katampe and Apo substations, along with several significant expansion works on existing substation developments coming this way. Others worthy of note include the 330 kV transmission backbone that provides several 330 kV double-circuit transmission lines which spur from power plant zones in Calabar, Aloji, Afam and Ikotabasi into a switching hub at Ikotekpene. From this hub, long double-circuit lines emanate to flow power from these southern-based power generation centers to Jos and the northeast through Ugwaji, Makurdi and terminals in Jos Plateau State.
The Ugwaji substation is one of the substations that have so far been delivered by NDPHC.
This station pulls power from Ikotekpene end and wheel out the power towards Makurdi, and that is RP transmission station 330. And equally two double circuit equally moves to New Haven transmission stations.
4 circuits coming from Ikotekpene to this place, about 162 kilometers each. And from here, there's a double circuit line going to New Haven in Enugu. Another double circuit line going to Makurdi, and then a double circuit line, and from Makurdi it gets to Jos.
In transmission, we've done so many projects. We completed the Ikotekpene switching station with the Calabar Olukpani circuit, double circuit, with Aloji circuit, double circuit, and we completed the line from Ikotekpene to Ugwaji, the single circuit. I mean, it's double circuit. One line has been completed. The second line, we are working with the contractor Enago to complete very soon. This quarter to be completed very shortly. There are so many. We are completing Ota. We have transmission projects from Ota to Papalan to Kuda transmission station. We built the transmission station that we have completed. The Papalanto end of it, we are also working, doing some extension work. After we're doing some extension work, we're almost done. What is left now is the stringing. We're hoping again that by this quarter we'll complete that whole axis, the project on that axis. So there's a lot of work. We still have close to 3 projects in transmission that we're working on simultaneously. And we're hoping to complete them. They're scheduled, most of them are scheduled for completion this year, starting from this quarter.
As regards the distribution of electricity, the Niger Delta Power Holding Company has constructed and commissioned over 350 injection substations with a combined capacity of 3,540 megawatts across the length and breadth of the country. Under the NIPP program, the capacity of 33/0.415 kV and 11/0.415 kV has been increased by 26%. The NIPP is designed to increase the number of 33/0.415 kV and 11/0.415 kV substations by 163%. Virtually all the projects are nearing completion.
Distribution, I also mentioned that distribution, in recent months, in the past few months, we've focused more on distribution because we discovered as well that we have about 2,000 megawatts of stranded power now, which it is there, but Nigerians are not enjoying it. Why? Because distribution facilities are not good enough to pick the available load. I said that, which means they are not good enough to serve the end users. They are not good enough to receive the power being transmitted from the generation plants to the distribution facilities and then to be distributed to end users. So we decided to focus a lot more on distribution. And since the advent of this President Buhari's administration, since the inception of the administration, we've completed close to 70 distribution projects. Every month we have one project completed or the other, more than one sometimes. So we kept, so that the distribution companies will improve their ability to take electricity being generated and being transmitted by the transmission company, so that we're able to unlock this 2,000 that is stranded in the various power plants across the country.
The Niger Delta Power Holding Company currently contributes about 30% of power requirement in the grid, despite the huge debt of over 160 billion naira owed it by the electricity market as at February 2018. In a bid to tackle the liquidity challenges of the NDPHC and other players, the Buhari administration introduced the Payment Assurance Guarantee Scheme in January 2016.
Government now realizing the fact that there is need to sustain power, there is need to come in and assist the generation companies, especially with the payment for gas, came up with the Payment Assurance Program, whereby the payment of 80% of the invoice that is generated by every genco, every generation company, is guaranteed and is paid for a period, is going to last for a period of 2 years, from 1st January 2017 to 31st December 2018.
Nigerians in the 6 geopolitical zones of the Federation are beginning to feel the impact of the huge investments made in power infrastructure by the NDPHC in the last 3 years. Going by the definition of the United Nations, any settlement with a population of over 500,000 is considered an urban community. Sandwiched between Lagos and Ogun State is Magboro, a community with a population of over 1 million people, and qualifies to have attained the urban status. However, for over a decade, power supply in Magboro remained a mirage, with government losing so much in terms of accruable revenue and the citizens dreaming of what constant power supply looks like. NDPHC came to the rescue, intervening with the construction of a 33/11 kV distribution line taking power from Okearo, Ogun State into Magboro. Residents of Magboro, especially small business owners like Sahid, are indeed very pleased with the development.
My name is Afa Said. I do mechanic engineering. I live Magboro. Before, we never no come. Na generator all of the person they use. But now, only the day we never come, in they use the generator. If the large day, I know if you use the generator again. So I greet the government. I thank God. I thank government where we bring light.
My name is Said. I'm living at Magboro. I'm doing electronics engineering at Magboro here. I was here for a long time at Magboro here. So although we are happy now, we are high life at Magboro now. We are using light now. Now, even as light day now, children this for hours now, they're watching cartoon, to enjoy themselves. It's not like before we say, if you children want to watch anything, you need to buy fuel before. But now, nothing like that. When they bring light now, children go there out to look cartoon. They watch many programs on TV like before. Nothing like that.
In addition to the substation, a 33 kV line was also energized in Magboro to serve Mowe, Ibafo, and environs.
If you look at the Lagos axis, all the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway up to Redeem Camp, there are several communities there. These communities, you you could not imagine. They were out of power for more than 12 years. Electricity, grid-connected electricity. So what we did to ameliorate the situation was to construct a long 33 kV, that's distribution high tension line, if you choose to call it that way. All the way from our Okaru, we have a transmission station at Okaru near Lagos, near Agege. All the way from Okaru across the waters, very difficult terrain, straight to Mowe, where we have an injection substation.
We've been radiating the 33 kV feeder line over 26 kilometers down to this place. Now that 33 kV feeder is more, should we say, is an intervention at the end of the day, because you could see that there are so many communities that are being powered from that 33 kV feeder. You have the Gaon, which is a very large community. You have the Magboro community itself. You have the Okeafa community. You have the Ibafu community that has a lot of other subsets of communities. You have the Mowe also, where we have, obviously, most of our CSP network is concentrated within the Mowe axis, where you have over 65 CSPs to be commissioned.
Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa State, is another city in north-central Nigeria where power supply had become insufficient due to an increase in socio-economic activities and inadequate infrastructure. Because of this, residents of Lafia and indeed Nasarawa State have had to grapple with inadequate power supply and extremely low voltage. However, this will soon be a thing of the past, as the NDPHC has flagged off the construction of 330/132 kV 2x150 and 132/33 kV 2x60 MVA transmission substations in Lafia. These substations will not only improve power supply to Nasarawa State, but also backfeed the Federal Capital Territory whenever it is required in emergency cases. The Lafia transmission stations will also boost power supply to border communities of neighboring states such as Northern Benue State, Southeastern Kaduna State, as well as Southern Plateau State. The project is also an ideal takeoff point of the long-term grid expansion plan to reinforce the Federal Capital Territory power supply with a third independent supply source to complement the current sources from Shiroro and Geregu power stations respectively. The NIPP's 330/132/33 kV substation will get its source from a 300 kV high voltage Makurdi to Jos transmission line, which at the moment runs through Lafia without supplying electricity to the town. The $18 million Lafia transmission substation is expected to be completed by the end of the year 2018.
The fundamental reason for this project is to supply the city, Lafia, to improve power supply to Lafia. Because before now, Lafia has been served through a long, very long distribution line, 33 kV distribution line from Akwanga, which is just too long for any reasonable supply, adequate supply to the state, to the town. The voltage profile is very low in the town. We slept in Lafia yesterday, we found out that virtually electricity is virtually non-existent in this town. So the whole purpose of this is to make sure, the primary purpose is to make sure that we improve power supply to Lafia. But the overall purpose for us at NDPHC is to ensure that we unlock existing generation. So you can imagine when we're able to drop down about 300 megawatts here, that means ability to pick 300 megawatts from existing generation. We have about 2,000 stranded power now in generation plants.
This project is one of the biggest projects that is being embarked upon by the Nigeria Data Power Holding Company because of its size, 330, 132, 33 kilovolts.
This project we commenced almost 1 month ago because the approval process is just completed and we commenced foundation of this project.
In the past, what we had going from Abuja to Nasarawa is almost a 95 kilometer 33 kV line. That line is old, is too long, such that by the time you have all the losses, what you have in Lafia is almost like having candle lights. So you can imagine what happens to the industries in those areas. And that's one of the food baskets of Nigeria. So this is a major achievement of this government, that the 330 kV line that runs from Jos to Makurdi will be stepped down in Lafia.
Ngozi, like most residents of Lafia and its environs, can heave a sigh of relief.
There are some particular areas in Nasarawa State that you don't just expect light. That is just it. Not that there's no wires to it, but there is no light at all. Where I stay, most times I run diesel. I run my diesel and generator almost throughout the night because of how hot. Because Nasarawa State, mostly Lafia, is a very hot city. So because of the weather, if you're not running on generator, NEPA is like a standby, while generator is the main source of light for us here. And it hasn't been. Hearing about this, I kept asking, when is this project going to come to an end? So let's see whether there's going to be a difference.
The story is the same in Badagry, one of the most popular tourist destinations in the country. Like other residents and small business owners in Badagry, Sophia is excited about the ongoing project.
My name is Sophia Peter. I live in Badagry and I sell food. Most of the time when my customers come, they look for something cold. I mean cold water, cold bottled water and mineral. But most of the time we don't have it. Look at me, then I ran to a neighbor and got an empty freezer to freeze the pure water and mineral for them, but we don't used to get block. I'm going to benefit very greatly in this new light because I will be able to sell. Cold things make my market go fast. And if they can be able to restore it on time, it will be of a very great benefit for me because I will not be using an empty old freezer again. I will have to buy a new one that the light can energize for me to use to sell my market.
I use the light to operate my business. So we'll be expecting this light over time. So I'm happy if this light is commissioned in due time, because it will attract more investors into Badagry, as it will boost the economy of Badagry. As in Badagry as a whole, it will improve our lives here.
Iná ní ìlú Badagry báyìí, ó ti pẹ́ tá ti ń rí iná, a kì í rí iná. Tá bá máa rí iná, ó lè jẹ́ wákàtí kan àbí wákàtí méjì la máa rí iná nílùú Badagry àti gbogbo àyíká ẹ̀, a kì í ní iná rárá. Ṣùgbọ́n a rí pé tí wọ́n bá ṣe iná yìí, gbogbo Badagry á bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí níná, tí gbogbo wa sì máa rí iná fi lò fún àwọn iṣẹ́ àti fún gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tí ó ń lo iná pátápátá.
Residents of Ugwaji community in Enugu State have enjoyed improved power supply since 2013. This is due to the 330 kV substation constructed and commissioned by NDPHC in the community.
At Ugwaji, where we have a state-of-the-art transmission substation, we made sure it stepped down to 33 kV, and we got a Enugu Disco. In fact, when we had the power sector meeting, the community complained. So what we did was to, develop the facilities, got the Enugu Disco to connect and feed them immediately, and they are being served now.
We are enjoying it because some of women, artisan people, who is doing their something to get their dairy bread, they use power on that. So for that, we are enjoying it. In fact, I'm very, very happy. We have to appreciate what the government did because it will help every Nigerian to improve in whatever a person is doing with light. Because without light, nothing is going on.
Jude, a welder, is appreciative and contented with the state of power in Ugwaji.
My name is Jude. I'm from Enugu State. and from Uguaji. I'm a confirmed welder and a professional welder. Now we they get right well. They use right to work well. Before, the right is not like that. They go give us right just 2 times. They go take it. Before 2-3 months, the right will come. So, but now, they have give us the right SS. They go give us the rights up to 2 weeks and before they will take it once. So now we are enjoying the right now. Sometimes if you don't get right, you will use your generator and they work. But now we are no more using our generator. We are using the right normal and the right is normal. You know they're too high, you know they're too low, they're normal.
Renewable energy is an area where the government under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is determined to walk the talk. In January 2017, the then acting president Yemi Osinbajo launched the Solar Home Systems. The initiative is meant to cater for the over 70 million Nigerians in rural communities presently not connected to the national grid. The reality is that a lot of Nigerians still rely heavily on kerosene lamps, candles, and petrol-powered generators. These rudimentary lighting systems aren't cheap to maintain. Plus, they come with a lot of health and safety risks. The solar home system is the exact opposite. The project was kick-started by the NDPHC at Wuna, a village on the outskirts of the Federal Capital Territory.
We have 10 power plants, 8 of them on the grid already, 2 under construction. Out of the 8 on the grid, we still have expansion to do like Aloji and as I mentioned, but it's power generation. So they are centrally dispatched, which means they have to get to the grid and then to get to the end users. So what about those who are not connected to the grid? So His Excellency the President showed that concern when he entered the office, and through the Vice President, we started the presidential initiative to provide for the unserved communities, because they were never served before them. They don't have grid connection. So we started with the solar home system to ensure that at least they enjoy some measure of electricity, at least at night. And we have that across. We started with 20,000 units, and then we've installed well over 17,000 as I speak across the villages, the rural communities.
There is no doubt that the journey ahead is long. However, the NDPHC is determined more than ever before to cover the infrastructural deficit in the nation's power sector. Indeed, there is light at the end of the tunnel.